let's start at the beginning. Seen old pictures of you where your hair was straight, and when I met you, your hair was cut super short. And then as I've gotten to know you, your hair has gotten longer, and the afro has gotten bigger, and you've been bold and shown up, and your headshot is a huge afro, and you don't care if you're blocking people's view, sit somewhere else. So let's start with your natural hair journey. Was it a journey? Was it always? Did you never have any issue with your natural hair? Was the relaxer just a phase? Like, where do we start with this?
I had a relaxer in my hair for as long as I could remember. My mom was sneaking it into my hair from the time I was very young because my hair was so thick, according to her. It did not go natural until I believe it was my last year in undergrad, so back in like 2007.
That's when you started undergrad, yeah. So
right,
2007, your
2007.
last year. Yeah, and you decided to go natural. But before you go into like the process, what made you decide?
Well, originally I wanted to do dreadlocks. So I was like, well, so I got to transition out of my straight hair. And I think for a long time, like I thought about doing it, but I let my family kind of talk me out of going natural because they're like, oh, it's so hard, your hair's so thick, like you're not gonna be able to maintain it, and all of those things. But I decided that I wanted to do locks. So I actually started off like transitioning by doing the twist in my hair. But then as I was doing that, I was like, I never even got to like see my own texture of my hair, how it normally is. So I was like, you know what? So I ended up taking out the twist before they locked it just so that I could like get to know my hair. And then just like seeing other people's reactions to having natural hair at that point, because at that point I don't think it was as mainstream as it has become. Like when I googled like natural hairstyles, I was still getting like the braided and weave styles. There was nothing of just braids or just twists. I was kind of like up and coming. And as somebody, like, I don't know how to braid, so that was another part of the process, like, even just getting to know how to do hair. And I remember I ended up, like, when I did the chop, I felt super free. Like, I got in the car and I was like, roll down all the windows. Like, I don't have to worry about my hair. I was like, this is amazing. It just felt really, like, freeing. But then there were still the times where I second guessed myself. Like I let my hair grow out. By the time I got to graduation, my hair was in an arrow. My family was like, you're not going to be able to get a job. Nobody's going to hire you with your hair like that. So I ended up relaxing my hair right before graduation from college.
Wow. So this is 2008?
Well, so the end of 2006, I think, is when I transitioned. And then 2007, like I was like fully enjoying it. And then my parents talked me into relaxing it. Because my hair grows kind of quickly.
When they say no one was going to hire you, because this is before you started law school, so what kind of jobs did your family understand you were trying to get?
I went to undergrad for TV and film production. I don't know that my family knew exactly what type of jobs I was trying to get. I was a first generation college student. So my dad was a mechanic. My mom worked in the hospital. She was like an administrator in the hospital. So I guess in their minds, they're just thinking like any type of corporate job that you're probably going to go for, they're not going to hire you with your hair looking as mine did, natural. So I did let them talk me into relaxing it before graduation because I was like, well, I don't want any barriers if I'm trying to find a job. I was relaxing in for probably a couple of years, and then I went natural again. I did another big chop. I'm trying to remember the year, 2007, like 2009. I want to say like 2008, 2009. I went back to being natural. But even then, like I would like flat iron my hair, so it wasn't always worn curly. I remembered like I didn't feel comfortable wearing it curly if I had a job interview or if I had a special like holiday occasion. I was like, oh, I have to straighten it for those types of occasions. I couldn't wear it curly.
What prompted you to do it again the second time?
I think because I felt like an imposter. Honestly, when my hair was straight, I realized that I didn't feel like fully me as I did when I was natural. And I think I also felt a little more comfortable like my job at that point, that I'm like, they're not gonna judge me for my hair. And also in the TV production world, like I don't think people are judging the same like as they would say in a corporate job. It's a lot more creative people,
right.
So you're kind of around a different type of vibe of people. So I think that's also partially what made me feel more comfortable in going natural at that point.
And I make an assumption as TV production, you're behind the scenes, you're never on camera, so your appearance doesn't go out to the general public.
Yep. And I actually did have a host time where I actually blew out my hair, and it was like very big at this point. And she actually pulled me out on camera to show everyone my hair. She was like, look at all her hair. And I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. Like, I was like, I like the appreciation, but also I'm like, I'm kind of feeling like an exhibit.
Yes, the othering.
Yeah.
Like how strange and exotic and different, right? As opposed to that's beautiful and that's period, what a period at the end. At what point of this transitioning back and forth between natural, relaxed, and then straightened versus natural, did you decide you were going to go to law school?
So I first started thinking about law school in like 2013, and my hair was natural. At that time, I was actually teaching in middle school. And I'm going to go back to the teaching in middle school. So when I went to my job interview, I wore my hair up in a puff and I had it very streamlined. And then I remember the first time, I think it was a couple weeks into school, I wore my afro out. And my assistant principal saw me and he was like, oh, where did all that hair come from? And I was like, it's been on my head. But I think one thing I noticed in my time as I was teaching, the students, the Black female students, they would see me doing my hair in different styles and wearing it differently. And there were a lot of girls who were natural, but I could tell like they weren't comfortable with it because of how they would wear their hair. I'd been there. And as my time progressed, I saw them start wearing their hair in different styles and kind of like taking a little bit more pride in their hair. And I'm like, I don't know if it was attributed to me, but I feel like representation does help that. And when you see someone else who has it, then it kind of feeds into it. Yeah, so in 2013, I thought about law school. I didn't even think about my hair as a factor at that point when I was thinking about applying to law school. I didn't actually apply until 2017, 18. I was working as a social worker, and that kind of led me down the path of, no, I definitely want to go to law school. Like, I'm in court all the time as a case manager. I'm like, I can do this. And even then, my hair was natural, I think, but a lot of times I did wear my hair like up like this in court. It wasn't often that I wear my full afro out. Especially if I was working in a more conservative area. So
which area is that? That's what I was going to ask you. Where's the middle school? Where are these courts? What area are you in?
I was in Hernando County, so it's a little more conservative up there. I mean, there were homes that I had to go visit that had Confederate flags outside, so it's like I have to consider my safety as well, like, because that is a factor. I don't want people to, I guess, judge me just off my hair before I even get to open my mouth to them.
Yeah, so are you kind of, you got the sense that I have that wearing our hair natural is seen as a political statement, even though this is just how it grows out of our head?
Yes, very much so, because so when my hair was straight and I would go out, like the reactions I would get from like, say like a man who like wants to give me attention, I kind of rebuff him or say no thank you, and they're like, oh, you think you're too good for whoever. And that was when my hair was straight. When my hair was natural and afro and I'd go out, I'd get the guys who were like, oh, hey, my sister, like, and I'm just like, nothing about me is different except for my hair, but the reaction from people definitely is different. Yeah, but it definitely does feel like it's always a statement, even though for me, this is just my hair and how it grows.
What about your experience before you go to law school? Did you see other lawyers, male or female, particularly Black and Latino women who tend to have the more oily, kinky, curly hair? How much of that did you see?
Before law school? None.
Oh,
None.
wow.
I mean, unless you count television. Like,
right. I know you're in a more conservative part of Florida, so for people who are not familiar with Hernando County, that's like Brooksville is the big city there, and it's very like historical old South Florida, and it's in central kind of near between Orlando and Tampa. Would that be accurate? Yeah, because I had a case out there, so I was out there a lot at the Brooksville courthouse. Now you're in law school. How much of it are you seeing, and how is your hair perceived, or what are the reactions in law school?
So in my preparation to apply to law school, my hair was being neglected because I was like studying my butt off for the LSAT. So I was like not feeling good about how my hair looks. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to chop it all off. And I'm going to wear it short because I don't have time for it. And like my time needs to be put elsewhere. So I chopped it off. And my family's always like, why do you keep cutting your hair off? I'm like, it grows back. It's fine. So I had my hair really short at the beginning of law school. That's when I actually start seeing other Black female attorneys because they would come to events at my law school, and like I would get to see like how different people had their hair. I don't know that it like really gave much attention to it because, I mean, for me, I don't know. For me, I just wear my hair how I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I paid as much attention to how they wore their hair. Yeah, I don't know.
Because you are also at what some would consider a conservative law school, right? It's
Yeah.
in St. Pete area, but it's
Mhm.
the oldest law school in Florida. It's over 100 years old.
Predominantly
It's,
white.
yes, it's a predominantly white institution, but the feedback I've gotten from Black students that I've worked with has been that there's been a lot of pushback for just in general, particularly during the pandemic and George Floyd. They just weren't getting the support that they thought they'd get. And that it actually, particularly because it's in Florida where there's all the anti-DEI stuff, they've kind of just dropped. They're like, okay, we're not fighting that fight for sense.
Yeah.
And hopefully you provide a picture with us because you were gorgeous with that short hair. I was so jealous.
Oh, yeah,
I'm one of those people that would love to shave my hair, but I got one of those sport, scalps that look like I got a lot on my mind. It's all bumpy and bumpy, so I can't cut it short like that. And my face doesn't, I look like my dad. Like, look at my face, I'm like, oh, I look like my dad. Nope. But I love women who wear their hair like that, and it looks so beautiful.
Yeah, I think it was actually during the pandemic that I just let my hair grow back out.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. What prompted you to let your hair grow back out? And then it started turning into like everyone, like Tabitha Brown, how she has a name for her hair because it's so big.
Yeah.
What name for your hair?
Donna. I don't. I should
You need to name because she is a being on her own. So during the pandemic, and it's interesting because in the paper that's what I explore, how the pandemic saw serious growth in locks in particular, because there's always this transition phase whenever you're changing from one hairstyle to another, particularly when you're growing your hair out natural or going from natural to locks. There's always this stage where you're trying to get used to it and your hair is not quite doing what you want it to do. So the pandemic allowed people to they don't even have to go out. So it's like, that's when I started my locks again during the pandemic. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna be going anywhere, so they can transition away and I can just always put in a ponytail or put a nice wrap on because I'm just going to be on the video and I can DIY it, and if it messes up, people can start over. So what was your experience now growing your afro out?
I think during the pandemic, I felt like I actually had more time than I did before. So then I had time to give to my hair at that point. So I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and grow it out. Like, I miss having my afro. Like, I really do love my little fro. Or my big fro.
It's not little. Yeah, say not little about this fro. Don't be fooled by the bun right now. There's a lot of hair in there. And as someone who used to have that much hair too, I definitely understand like what your mom was saying. Because my daughter has my hair now. And I don't mind combing it, but she does. So it's like trying to comb a wiggly worm. We're going to talk about your daughter in a minute.
I was very tender-headed, so I understand why my mom did what she did. Like, it was bad to the point of like getting sick.
Yeah, that's how my daughter acts. She acts like if someone is killing her. And all I'm doing is two little like pornos. And everyone whose hair I've done is like, you have a light touch, but she she doesn't like it. She's also 2. So, we'll see. But so now you're growing out your hair, you're gonna be graduating, and you're looking for jobs now. What is this second round of job searching after graduating like with your natural hair?
I think because I did like clinics and like externships throughout law school, like being not in the practice, but around people in the practice. Most of my experiences were with government agencies. It didn't seem like my hair was an issue. And also I saw other female attorneys with their hair natural. So I never gave it a thought to go back to relaxing my hair when I was graduating for law school. I do remember thinking like, how am I going to do my hair for graduation?
Yeah. It looked beautiful too.
A little tam on my head. I'm like, I gotta.
Right. It never fits on my head to graduate. I just said, I'm not even gonna bother. It's not gonna stay on. It don't fit on my big old head. So let's just move on.
But like, I literally like, I'm wearing my afro for graduation because that is when I feel my most self, and because of the whole process of going to law school and the sacrifices and the work, I'm like, I'm gonna be me on that stage and in those photos. And even for my like graduation headshot, I wore my whole fro out. Like, I don't care if they can't fit into the little circle. Like, I'm gonna wear the whole thing because that's just the most authentic version of me. And I think that was also like going into doing interviews. I was hoping that in the legal field that people will look more at your abilities and like your qualifications and not worry so much about my hair. I think what also helps me is that my name is pretty generic on my resume. Because I have been to job interviews where I walked in and they were kind of, you see them kind of taken aback for a moment because they didn't expect me to walk in there because of my name.
I know that feeling.
But yeah, I didn't even think for a second about going back to relax my hair when it came to looking for jobs as an attorney. I think it also helped that my first job out was with a government agency. So I felt, I guess, a little more protected in that sense. I don't know why. I don't think you are more protected working for a government agency versus private, but it didn't seem to be an issue when I went for like my interviews. But again, I usually have it in a puff. I don't wear my afro on.
But you were a prosecutor, so how was, and that's very public facing, any reactions from the public when they saw your hair?
That was a consideration because I'm like, I'm not going to wear my afro for my first jury trial. Because again, I'm practicing in a conservative place. I practice in Hernando. I'm like, I don't want a jury to be distracted by my hair rather than the facts of the case. When it came down to my first jury trial, I actually ended up wearing my afro because that's just how my hair was, and I didn't have time to do my hair. Like, I didn't pre-plan as I normally would have because I was more focused on preparing for the trial. And I actually had to do jury selection, so the whole time they're looking at me. I don't have it wasn't my big fro, it was just like my like curly one, so it was a little smaller, but it's still an afro. It didn't seem like a big thing. Like, I definitely got comments from probably more people like in court, like bailiffs or other people, like, oh, like if I change my hairstyle, they're like, oh, where'd all of that hair come from? Or, oh, did you cut your hair? Like, no, it's just in a different style today. Like, and I had the judge even say, oh, black girl magic. And I'm like,
wow, okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, our hair is
it is
magical because it can
magical.
be huge afro. Because when I would go to the hairstylist, my hair has shrinkage. So for those who don't know shrinkage, that means when your hair has texture, it gets wet or humid, it tends to shrink within itself and really coil real tight, like to 1/8 of its size. So I'd be in the hair salon and people would be looking at me as she blow dries it extends, and as she flat irons it, it's past my shoulders. It started out like this, and that's what I love about our hair, that it can change its appearance.
And I remember I was walking in one day and it was a trial day, and I knew like the people walking in were potential jurors, so I'm trying to like talk to anyone but like not be rude, like I smile or whatever. And there was an older white woman who looked at me and she was like, oh, I love your hair. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you. And I'm like, and then I just kept walking. She ended up coming into our courtroom. She ended up getting put on the jury. But there was another person that was walking out, just a patron. And she stopped me. She was like, oh, my daughter has hair just like yours. And she was a white woman, so I'm assuming her daughter's multiracial. But she was like, oh, she has hair just like yours, but she has a hard time with it. Like, she doesn't like it. Like, she doesn't like wearing it out and whatnot. And I was like, well, just tell her, you know, her hair is magical because it grows toward the sun. And she was like, oh my God, I love it. And I'm like, I mean, it is. Like, it defies gravity.
That's my next book.
Like, right? I'm like, it defies gravity. Like, it's awesome. And you can wear it so many ways. So,
yes.
But I never felt like I was out of place there. Like, and I was even the only Black attorney, prosecution or defense side. And I never, actually the first day I walked into the courthouse, this was as an intern before I even passed the bar, the security guy was like, oh, are you an attorney? And I was like taken aback because I was ready for the, oh, are you a paralegal or are you a defendant? Not, are you an attorney? And I'm like, I mean, I don't know how to answer that. I kind of am, but not yet.
I'm lawyer-ish. That's why I registered that trademark.
Right. But yeah, and I think my hair was in like a twist. It was in like a half up, half down, like twist type style. It wasn't in a fro or anything for my first days, but yeah, like I never felt out of place up there wearing my afro. I do always feel like it is a statement when I'm wearing it, even if I don't want it to be.
Right, yeah. And then you're also the only Black person, so it's like I'm already standing out. Right? So now let's fast forward. You're in the private sector working at a firm. What issues came up with your hair? Because I would see you around town. Sometimes you'd have your afro out and sometimes you wouldn't. But now you're not so public facing. And again, it's a lot of the pandemic, working from home, coming back into the office. What was that like?
So I ended up in the private sector, more in like a big law firm type setting. I was the only Black female attorney. There was one Black male attorney. I think I felt like I got a lot more comments and looks about my hair. Never anything meant to be negative, but like also some curiosity and some kind of just like didn't really make me feel comfortable. About a couple months into my job, we were all sitting, a bunch of associates, we were sitting in our break room. I had my hair in a puff like this, and a higher up attorney, a partner in the firm, kind of came up and made a comment like, "Oh, everyone here at this table has cool hair." And I'm like thinking to myself like, "Oh, maybe he's just saying that because he doesn't have hair himself." And as I'm sitting there, he's kind of standing kind of behind me, and I just feel him go like this to my hair. And I kind of like pause because I'm like, I don't know how to react. Like, I have talked about this with my mentors in law school, but I'm like, how do I react? I just started this job. People don't really know me. I'm the only Black female attorney. I'm like, I can't react in like shock and anger because that's going to color how they look at me, right? So I didn't say anything. And then I went back to my office and I went to my colleague's office, the other Black attorney. I'm like, he touched my hair. Like, I didn't know what to do. I actually called one of my mentors and he was very upset. And was like, you need to like call HR, you need to do this. And I was like, I literally just started this job. I don't know that I feel comfortable doing all of that. So I kind of didn't address it. And then actually a couple days later, I was on the elevator with some coworkers and one of them brought it up and she was like, I couldn't believe that he did that. And I was like, well, me either. And one of our other senior partners was on the elevator while we were discussing it. And I don't really know her, so I didn't want to go into it. But also my thought was, if you saw that it was outrageous, why didn't you say something? Like, why do I have to be the one to say it? So that kind of like bothered me because I'm like, if you were also bothered, you could have said something instead of leaving it to me. But a couple weeks later, sitting in the break room again, myself and the other Black attorney were having lunch. The same senior partner who did my hair was at another table. My colleague, he wore his hair short, like close to his head. So he was walking over, and I don't know if like, maybe he hadn't had a haircut, like it was like getting up to the point of needing a haircut, so it was a little bit longer than usual. But the senior partner literally ran his hand across his head as he was walking by and was like, "Oh, are you trying to grow your hair out like Shannon?" And I was like mid-sentence and I just like stopped because I lost all track of what I was speaking about. So we went back to our offices and I was like, I'm gonna call HR. Because I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, he literally just did this to me and now he's doing it to you. I'm like, who else has he done it to staff? Because we had Black staff members and I'm like, has he done it to them too? So I ended up calling HR. They had a whole meeting with partners across all of our offices. I was told that this partner wanted to apologize to me, but they told him to wait until they spoke to me. After they spoke to me, like, told him I just want to make sure he doesn't do this to somebody else, because I'm like, we shouldn't have to worry about someone touching our hair without permission. I'm like, it's part of my body, like, it's uncalled for. And I was like, as long as he knows it's not proper, I'm good with that, but also it does need to be addressed. And I never actually did get the apology from the partner. The partner actually avoided talking to me 4 months until I got to my review time and he had to talk to me. And even from then, like, our rapport completely changed. Like, he was very much standoffish with me. So, yeah, that's kind of where it ended. Even after I left, like, I didn't even tell him when I quit. I will hear it through the grapevine at this point because I'm just like, you don't talk to me. Like, he never apologized. He didn't acknowledge it.
So, any lessons learned? I remember you told me this story. And then you said someone had told you about this kind of myth that people had about that. Do you want to share that? Because I had never heard this before. You told me that someone, but I'm from New York, so maybe it's just more of a Southern thing.
I'm trying to think
about good luck.
Oh yeah, like supposedly
amongst some
must have been the
members
South,
of the population.
Yes, that there's a myth that if you rub a Black person's head, like it'll bring you good luck. Like, I was like, I hadn't heard that. One of my friends told me when I told them what happened, and I'm like, Oh God, that made me even feel more violated. Like,
Well, but doesn't it kind of jive? Because why would he then? He seemed to be trying. He didn't touch anyone else's hair, and he particularly is like making an effort, right?
yeah,
And it's almost like
yeah.
a game for. Like, if you grew up hearing that, then it becomes like a game for you. Like
Mhm.
when young boys hear, try to touch a woman inappropriately, and it's like a game
Mhm.
for them.
And
It
then,
kind
and
of feels
also,
like that.
and I, it could be also this partner was very advanced in age, so definitely a different generation. So that could have been a factor. I'm not sure.
Right. I mean, it always, to me, like, what if you had patted him on the head? There's no situation where you would think that was okay.
Well, so for Halloween, like people wore costumes to work, right? One of our staff members dressed up as him and wore a bald cap, and he was not amused at all. So clearly he's sensitive about his own hair and or lack thereof, and no sensitivity toward others. I don't know.
That's common. Do you feel like now, like you said, I've heard themes of liberation, right? And law, which is, this is Locke's law of liberation. And I say locks just to represent, because it is the epitome of natural hairstyle. It's predominantly people of color and Black people in general, and specifically who wear locks. Our hair texture is very easy to lock, and braids, twists, etc. People who are unfamiliar with the styles, it all looks the same to them. And you've had all those styles, except locks. So are you ever gonna get to locks? Because I'm locked up. I'm all I saw an acronym for locks. I can't remember it now. Learning something care for my strands. Like I forget what the O stands for, but it was like a beautiful way to look at locks. Loving something care for my strands. So when are you gonna get locks? If you're gonna get locks.
I don't know if I'm gonna get locks.
Oh, you're enjoying your afro too much?
I really do love my afro.
Yeah.
I feel really
It's
like
very
me.
versatile. You can still create an afro style when you have my locks. So I'll put that out there. Lots of curling, lots of perm rods. I'll send
Oh
you
no,
all the videos.
I've seen so many cute styles. They are very versatile. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. When
And
I'm
you're
done.
so willing to just cut your hair off and start over. It's like, if you get tired of them, cut them off and start over.
Yep.
Well, maybe we'll join the lock queens on this side, but we're just going to enjoy your afro for now. I want to thank you so much for your time and sharing your story. I know that's not easy to share, because like we said, people are going to figure out who it is who are in the know. Most people won't know who you're talking about. We're not trying to shame people or create bad actors. But we're trying to raise awareness about why this is so important and why seeing sister locks on the Supreme Court is the ultimate representation for Black women and anybody really who's wearing their hair in a natural state that's not considered, popular or common, because it normalizes it. So now when you and I walk into a courthouse, when there's folks graduating now, who are entering law school now, the young women entering and men entering law school, college, when they go into the courtroom, it won't be these weird looks. It will be, oh yeah, they just have that style. And people can focus on what is coming out of their mouths, how prepared they are, their professionalism, and their advocacy, which is why we all, decide to become lawyers. So thank you, Shane.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be
Any
a part
last
of it.
words in the last minute?
I just say be your authentic self, whatever that looks like, and live how you want to. Because I like my afro.
Yes, and your beautiful jewelry. You need to start selling or something. Yes, you got to start a
My friend made these. I actually bought
nice.
these from a friend. She handmade them. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to holler at you and you see, because I'm trying to get some more
Oh yeah.
statement jewelry.
Oh,
All
yeah,
right, girl.
definitely.
Well, we'll see each other soon.